Hello. Thank you for joining me, Nancy with North Star Ministry. I'm going to today read a few chapters from the book Pistis, Sophia. And this is an ancient text. I'll read you some of the preface in the book. It's a Gnostic book. It's not in the Bible. It's a Gnostic gospel, but it has a lot to do with Jesus. You know, there are some books that are not in the Bible that should be. And I'm just saying because there are areas in Scripture, for instance, in Genesis chapter 6, when we hear that there are those giants in those days, okay, and things were so wicked, and then the Lord had to, the sons of man saw the daughters of the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and how fair they were, and decided that they would go in unto them, take wives for themselves. And the next thing you know, in chapter 6, it talks about how the world was wicked. So wicked that God had to destroy it in the day of Noah. So you wonder, well, what happened? It kind of leaves you wondering, okay, so there's several areas in Scripture like that, where it just sort of drops off, and you know there's more to the story, but it doesn't say. So once again, when it talked about Enoch, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not. Well, what happened to Enoch? What the heck happened to Enoch? Something happened to Enoch. God took him. Where did he take him? Where is the rest of the story? And you know intuitively, if you're like me, you pick up on this, and you know that there's more to the story that meets the eye. But you don't see it. Where is it? Well, there is a book of Enoch, but it was not in the King James version of the Bible that I have anyway, but you find that a shorter version of it was included in the Old Testament, in the Ethiopian Bible, okay, King James Bible. So there's a whole lot of books that are in there that we do not have. All those books have information. And again, I think in the book of Chronicles, it talks about these things are written in the book of Jasher. Well, where the heck is the book of Jasher? We don't have that book either. So there's always been these times when you knew that there was more to the story, but we didn't have the full information. Well, we know that in the end times, things are sealed up until the time of the end. Knowledge will increase. People will run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. So we're living in a day when, in this last century, in the 40s, I believe, there were many, many scrolls found by the Dead Sea. You had the Dead Sea Scrolls, including parts of the book of Isaiah and some other books. But anyway, so those books are found in different libraries, and it's a good thing to read those books. Some of those books have a lot of information, like the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of John. You know, there's a whole other Gospel of John, the Gospel of King Solomon. What happened to him when his wives took his heart away? What happened? I wanted to know what happened to King Solomon, because God spoke to him twice, but you found that he had all those 700 wives and 300 concubines, and so you knew, right? Oh, I might be kicked out of the room here. Is time up? Is time up? Do you need the room now?
Yeah, you have like 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
Someone's going to come in after you, okay?
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I got 5 minutes left. I might hold this over for a little bit later. But let me just read from the first book of Pistis, Sophia. I'm going to read to you where it picks up. This is this old book here. This is like from... Oh, somebody's waiting for the room. I guess I better go. I'm gonna go because somebody else. I have 5 minutes though. But this book here has a lot of information. Jesus came back. Let me just read this one little paragraph, and then I will come back and read it later. Okay. Jesus hitherto instructed his disciples only up to the regions of the first mystery. So he's kind of elaborating on some of the mysteries. It came to pass when Jesus had risen from the dead that he passed 11 years discoursing with his disciples. Okay, even at that right there in itself, we didn't know this. And instructing them only up to the regions of the first commandment and up to the regions of the first mystery, that within the veil within the first commandment, which is the 24th mystery, without and below, those 24 which are in the second space of the first mystery, which is before all mysteries, the Father in the form of a dove. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. So right off, we know there's information that we did not have that's important for us to know, because if you're like me, you want to know, as this is the path of salvation. It has everything to do with when you're investing your time because you are interested in knowing where your soul winds up in the hereafter. It's a pretty important thing to know. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And I wish all of you a really good day. I'll be back in a little bit, and I'll come back and pick up where we left off. All right, peace out, everybody.